Women, when it comes to pricing, they are always afraid to ask for what they feel they're worth, whether they are charging as a businesswoman or as a corporate professional. And even if they're charging that, they feel that they need to justify it. Oh, I'm charging X because of A, B, C, D, E reasons. And when we've seen the men who very confidently will charge what they feel like charging.
Usually 3 times more.
Yes, exactly.
Welcome to another episode of Yana TV, where we have authentic conversations with impactful and conscious people of Asia. My name is Yana Fry, and today with us in the studio we have Megha Singh, who is a working mom. It means she's a professional woman who also have 2 wonderful boys at home. And we're going to talk about what it means, the whole journey of a woman. Marriage, motherhood, going back to work, finding your purpose in business, and also your place in the society where you really want to make an impact. I'm really now curious about your story. Now I look at you and you look to me very happy, very well put together, very content, very successful, very much at peace. So how did you become this way?
I was born in India. In a little town called Dhanbad, which is in East India. But very soon I moved to Delhi, which is the capital of the country. I grew up there. I did a bachelor's in information technology. And then I moved to Pune to do my master's in mass communication. I was working in Mumbai as a corporate communication professional. And in 2011, I moved to Singapore once I got married. And I would say that's when my personal development and transformation journey began.
So what happened when you got married?
Yeah. No, and I married the love of my life. So I think I came thinking that everything would be very rosy. I've always felt like a void in my life, like something was missing. And when I moved to Singapore after marriage, I thought, okay, love is going to fill that void. But after coming here, right, I came to a situation where I had no money of my own, no job, no network, after being very financially independent in India. And also I felt that I didn't have power in the relationship, even though my husband is an amazing man. But I did feel that I don't get to make the important decisions because he's the primary breadwinner. And that was something that really affected my self-worth.
It's very interesting you're sharing this, because I find it is extremely relatable for so many women when we get married, and also in your case you move the country. It's tough. I mean, realistically, people always often dream about it and say, oh, it's so wonderful, you're going to travel the world. But actually, when it gets to that, it is not easy, because that means you have to leave your entire circle of friends. And in your case, also your professional circle.
Yes.
You have to leave, in a way, your independence. Now you're financially dependent on your husband. And as you said, even if he's a great man, psychologically, it is not the same.
It's not.
So how did you deal with that?
No, I think it did affect our relationship for sure. And then I had my son. So my first boy was born December 2013. And again, that was, I think I kind of was in the throes of motherhood. I think this pain kind of took a back seat to what I was going through as a mother. But it was still there. And as my boy grew older, I think when he crossed the 1-year mark, I think the frustration that I was feeling of not having purpose in life, of just doing the same things again and again, of being financially dependent really got to me. And I feel that now that I look back at this journey, this pain really pushed me to find purpose. And that's when I, pushed myself to go out there, see what are the other options. And I set up my business in May 2015. So now it's been running for over 9 years.
You mentioned also when you had your baby and just how you felt about it. What was the toughest part?
So for me, pregnancy was very easy. I just put on a whole bunch of weight, but otherwise it was very smooth. My delivery was very smooth. I took an epidural. I was so happy, after delivering, and others were like, didn't you just have a baby? Like, you don't look like someone who's just had a baby because you're so chirpy and you're walking like very normally. But I think the hardest part for me was breastfeeding. It was very painful for me. I also got a lot of infections. And I was also solo parenting a lot because my husband traveled for work. I didn't have a helper then. I mean, I thought, anyway, I'm not working. I think me and the baby can figure this out. And so it was very lonely. It was also something that, if you just imagine day in and day out, I'm just feeding the baby and putting the baby to sleep and changing diaper. And then feeding the baby, putting the baby to sleep and changing diaper. So it's the same routine day in and day out, I think, got to me. I'm pretty sure there were some postpartum hormones involved, but I never sought help, and which is something I encourage women now to do if they're going through such kind of emotional turmoil. So that was the hardest part for me.
And how long have you been in that situation by yourself? Like until you actually decided that you want to go back into the professional world?
Oh, so I was like that for about a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean after the baby.
Yes.
But so if you can imagine, if I moved here in 2011, I did do a few small jobs here and there with startups, small projects.
And so then after you process all of this, moving to the new country, having a child, figuring out your new identity and deciding to go back into the working environment. So what was the biggest challenge there as the working mom?
Once I started working, nothing felt like a challenge. So I think I was just missing the fact that my brain is focused on something else, and my days had meaning and purpose, and I had tasks to do, and I was impacting lives even in small ways, which as a corporate professional or as a business person, that's what you're doing. Even your wonderful team now is impacting so many people. So I think after I started working, I felt like I had no challenges. Of course, there were scheduling things like, my husband is traveling and I need to pick up my child from childcare. But I think all of that seemed very easy to do once I started working.
And emotionally, mother's guilt was not something that was bothering you?
Not really. Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah. No, and I realized that when I am happy, my children will be happy. And because I could feel that when I'm feeling sad and upset, that energy is going to my child. And that's what I realized, that when I'm happy, even I may not be spending as much time with my children as I was when I was not working, they are happier because they are hanging out with the person who has the best energy.
Okay, so here you are, you come back to work, and what it is that you are doing right now?
So I'm a business coach for startups and small businesses, and I help them start and scale their companies. For bigger businesses and corporates, I come in as a fractional consultant in the areas of marketing, communication, and community building. I'm also an independent board director, a professional speaker, but the one that gives me the most joy is that I'm a trustee on a family NGO back in India. And what we do is help create education and job opportunities for the underprivileged.
So I know also from just knowing you that you are passionate not only about empowering women, but particularly maybe because also of your personal story, financial independence. And when you and I actually had a chat, we talked a lot about just mindset. Women sort of how we as women think about money, or to be precise, don't think about money enough, and why it is important to actually be a bit more financially focused. Like, just enlighten me on that.
Women, when it comes to pricing, they are always afraid to ask for what they feel they're worth, whether they are charging as a businesswoman or as a corporate professional. And even if they're charging that, they feel that they need to justify it. Oh, I'm charging X because of A, B, C, D, E reasons. And when we've seen the men who very confidently will charge what they feel like charging.
Usually 3 times more.
Yes, exactly. Usually.
And no guilt.
No guilt. No guilt. And I think it's often, this is a conversation I have with a lot of people, especially women. I feel it's because that for us, the journey of managing money is very new. Like in most countries around the world, women were not working or earning professionally, like even up to the last 50 years. Yeah. They've just started making money. And we spoke about how women are great at making money and saving money, but they don't think about investing. And that's something they tend to like delegate to a third party or to their partner. So I think that's the reason why we need to have a lot more conversations with women around money and getting them to feel very confident about it.
And so now for any woman who is watching this right now, and we are having this conversation about sort of leveling up our money mindset, what do you want her to do or to think about?
So I think the first thing to do is actually track your money, right? Whether you're a corporate professional or a business person, or you're at home, you're just managing your household finances. Just look at the money, what's coming in, what's going out, where's the expenses. Like one of the things I work with women a lot is that they're not looking at their numbers. If they're a businesswoman, the financials have been, again, sometimes they don't know how much profit they're making in a month.
I know quite a few business owners like this who are female.
Yeah. So the first thing I tell them to do is just look at the numbers. Become comfortable with looking at numbers. Don't be scared. You've done basic maths. And, really to manage your money, you just need grade 5 level maths. You don't even need to know like trigonometry and algebra or anything like that. So just the first step would be becoming comfortable with that. And then just having conversations with people around money. Like I'm organizing a Money Besties meetup this Friday, which is for women to talk more openly about money. Because what I've realized is that when I've seen my husband or male colleagues and friends, when they're out in casual situations over a game or a drink or a dinner, they actually talk about money like, I invested here, or like my Bitcoin's going up so much, or this stock has gone up, or I'm investing in rates now. And women are not talking about this when they're meeting each other.
Yeah, because they talk about kids.
Yeah, they talk
about how do you conceive, how did you give birth, how is your postpartum, how is your breastfeeding, what school did you choose?
Yeah, and I feel like when you, of course, these are conversations you want to do in a safe space, which is why I want to create that safe space, where you feel comfortable asking questions about money, which you may feel like, oh, this may sound like a dumb question, should I ask the question or not? Where we can talk about any shame you feel around money, any fears you feel around money. So in fact, I have done conversation cards which ask questions like, what was your biggest money mistake? Or when you think of money, what is a shameful thought that comes? And for some people, it could be very simple as like they made an investment and they lost all the money, and that brings them shame. But they're not talking about it. But I think the more conversations we have, the more comfortable we'll be, and the healthier relationship we'll have with money.
Absolutely. And for some people it could be even deeper in terms of shame, because when we look at money, there's also a lot of just cultural and sort of parental imposed belief in us.
Absolutely.
And I think also our parent generation definitely believe that you have to sacrifice everything for money, or sometimes money is dirty, or only
money is the root of all evil.
Yeah, money is the root of evil, or all rich people are bad. So
exactly.
you want to be a good girl, so don't go for this. There are all kind of other things that, of course, now when we look at it from a psychology point of view, we know it is not true. It's just a limiting belief.
Right.
But for a human being, the moment it gets planted in our subconscious when we are children, then we often don't know if it's true or not. So it's important to actually work with that.
Right.
And also, like as you were just sharing just this whole conversation about money, there are many cases when women actually stay in the marriage exclusively because they're financially dependent. And they're just so afraid to leave, sometimes in an abusive relationship, because they don't know how to make it on their own practically, and they would rather put up with really difficult situation at home than actually stand on their feet because they don't know how to.
Exactly.
So I find also the work you do is just very, it's sort of free, even though we talk about money, but it's also almost like a social work, because it empowers women in so many ways.
Yeah.
We're going to be coming soon towards the end of our conversation, and I just want to ask like a few more questions. One of that, what is the most interesting money story you heard from people around you that you have been working with?
The most interesting money story is actually the one I kind of referred to earlier, where I am coaching a businesswoman who's making almost, like revenue-wise, making $500,000 in revenue, but she is she has so much cost that she's not able to pay herself a salary. And which was like, and again, it has come because she's not looking at her numbers, she's not looking at her costs, and she's not focusing on profitability. And that to me recently just blew my mind that
Well, if you think about $500,000, yes, how much cost can you have in your business if you can't draw a salary?
Right. So yeah, that was like the most fascinating, story that I came across recently. And the reason I want to say this is because it's like you think everybody else has got it sorted, but to be honest, most of us don't have it sorted. So just speak up your truth, share where you're struggling, and you'll find other people are struggling too.
And it also reminds me, we actually, like a few months ago, we released another episode here when we talked on Yana TV, where we also talked about money with the man at that time.
Yes.
And I think the title we came up was Living Rich on 5K in Singapore.
Interesting.
Yes, and that interview actually went viral also on YouTube because everyone wanted to know, so how do you live rich on 5K in Singapore?
Yes.
And so his point of view was, you have to save. That's also, I guess, what we're talking about. So it's actually, when we talk about richness financially, it's not only how much you make, it's how much you actually have after you spend what you spent.
Absolutely.
And so it's looking at those numbers.
Yes.
The best advice you have ever received yourself?
At this point, I remember what my father said when I was moving to Singapore after marriage. He told me that, you are so accomplished, you have such great education, you have great work experience, do something with it. And I think he was trying to hint that don't stay at home and just look after the husband and kids and, and again, no judgment there, and just take care of your house. You can create impact, so go and do that.
Thank you so much for joining us here today. And that was Megha Singh on Yana TV, and we talked about the journey of a woman, and we talked a lot about money, so make sure you listen really carefully. And if you want any advice, of course, reach out to her, and I would love to hear from you in the comments. What is your journey? Perhaps maybe you also got married, moved to another country. How was your experience? If you're a working mom, I would like to connect. And as always, subscribe, share, comment, and I'm gonna see you next time.
I'll just keep talking if we keep rolling, right?
Yes.
Okay. So they can cut it. Yeah. Okay.
Cut.
Yeah. Okay.
Blooper.
Blooper. This is blooper. Yes. Okay.